Stop equating weakness with innocence. In the clinical terminal of the apex, a weak man is a biological landmine. Look at the animal world. A cornered prey doesn't have ethics. It has panic. It will trample its own kin just to find an exit. It is a survival malfunction. You have been raised on the nice guy program that tells you to protect the underdog and trust those who suffer. The truth? Those who cannot control their own lives will always try to control your downfall to level the playing field. Understand the status of the liability unit. In the social grid of 2026, weakness is the most effective backdoor for systemic infection. The marauders and useful idiots are weak by definition, which is why they operate through passive aggression and subatomic sabotage. They don't have the strength to challenge you openly, so they wait for your moment of vulnerability to trade your secrets for a moment of safety from the herd. The master predator performs a total liquidation of links. He realizes that mercy is just funding your own execution. Next, we audit the architecture of the victim's betrayal. Why is the weak unit the most dangerous trusted ally? Because it is incapable of holding the frequency. When the pressure of the 450 strike intent becomes too high, the weak man will leaking data to the simulation just to relieve the stress. He cannot handle the exile of the arc, so he will sail to buy his way back in the herd's comfort zone. The system uses weakness as a remote control to dismantle your monolith. You aren't helping, you are installing a spy in your own laboratory. Why is reject the only way to exit? Because the wheel is kept turning by the if you carry the you are in friction of your expansion. By waking up your primal code, you become a selective predator. You stop investing in potential and start auditing current output. You aren't cruel, you are functionally sovereign. Your presence becomes a viral threat to the status quo because you have removed the only soft targets the system could use to reach you. You have achieved strategic hardening. Why is the law of the strong the only one that wins the extraction? Because the world is a high-pressure resource grid. In a storm, you don't grab a rotting branch for support. The herd wants you to trust the weak so they can redistribute your strength until you are as paralyzed as they are. This is atmospheric sabotage. The architect knows that the only way to rule the monolith is to be surrounded by high-density use. You have moved from being a guardian of the frail to being the operator of the elite. You have turned your coldness into a security protocol. The screen is glowing. The room side. You are feeling the genetics of treachery purged from your neural pathways. You are looking at your pity and seeing it as systemic treason. You are feeling a cold, clinical sense of operational autonomy. The nice guy who wanted to save everyone is being liquidated. The hunter communicates through the override of the grid is at the control. Your 400 strikes are the steps of the sovereign. The mass attention, the result of is the occupation of the void. The audit of your trusts closed. We are moving from the genetics to the protocol of the predator. Stop open. In the clinical terminal of the apex, your accessibility is a strategic failure. Look at the fortress, middle of a desert. It doesn't invite the sassa. It doesn't welcome the storm. It is a sovereign barrier. You have been raised on the nice guy program that tells you to be approachable and be a man of the people. The truth? Being approachable is a resource leakage. If any weak unit can reach your mind, your ears, or your time, you're not an architect. You're a common landfill. Understand the status of the high-density environment. In the social grid of 2026, connection is a viral vector. The marauders use small talk and casual friendship as a stealth injection of their mediocrity. They want to get close so they can infect your 450 strike intent with their excuses and limitations. The master predator performs a total sensory filtering. He realizes that privacy is his operational clean room. By choosing predatory isolation, you are not hiding, you are concentrating your power. You are moving from a public network to a sovereign core. Next, we audit the architecture of the cruel selection. Why is filtering the only way to reach the summit of extraction? Because equality is mechanical friction. If you treat the weak unit the same as the high-performance asset, you are devaluing your own standards. The architect treats his social circle as a restricted database. He doesn't make friends. He certifies components. He looks for units that can sustain the systemic pressure of his expansion. If they can't survive the cold of his ambition, they are automatically ejected. You aren't being mean. You are preserving the integrity of the monolith. Why is isolation the only way to sustain the 450 strike daily barrage? Because social maintenance is energy theft. If you are carrying the weak through their dramas and their failures, you are draining your 43 million income battery. The master predator treats his vitality as a finite combat resource. He has removed the friction of human interaction. This is how he captures the focus of the masses, while the useful idiots are still trying to please everyone. He doesn't please. He dominates from the shadow. He has moved from being a leader of men to being a ruler of results. Why is filtering the biomass the only one that wins the simulation? Because the simulation is a race toward entropy. The herd wants to pull everything down to the average. They want to dilute your fire so it doesn't burn their comfort zone. This is atmospheric sabotage. But the master predator knows that absolute purity is his primary weapon. You have moved from being a part of the herd to being the frequency they obsess over. You have turned your exile into a high-resolution laboratory where you create the reality that the disposable males are forced to consume. You are the ghost that has mastered the art of the total filter. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the predatory isolation protocol replacing the need for belonging in your marrow. You are looking at your contacts and seeing them as potential infection points. You are feeling a cold clinical sense of operational superiority. The nice guy who was afraid to say no is being liquidated. The hunter who communicates through the implosion of the grid is at the controls. Your 450 strikes are the steps of the mass attention. The result of impact is the occupation of the audit of your access close. We are moving from the filter to the protocol of the sovereign soul. Stop strength in the clinical terminal of the apex. The weakness of our look at the predator track. It doesn't wish prey was faster, strong. It audits the fear and the hesitation. It is a strategy. You have been raised on the nice guy program that tells you to empower the weak. The truth? Empowering the weak only creates high status liabilities. The master predator performs a total reclassification of the herd. He realizes that trust is a neural vulnerability that he can no longer afford. Understand the status of the human leverage. In the social grid of 2026, weakness is a predictable algorithm. The marauders and useful idiots are slaves to their own validation and safety. This makes them remotely operable. You don't trust them. You configure them. You provide the incentive or the pressure, and you watch the mechanical result. By choosing zero trust execution, you are moving from a social participant to a systemic operator. You aren't using people. You are optimizing the flow of the simulation through the path of least resistance. Next, we audit the architecture of the human buffer. Why is non-trust the most effective state for an extraction strategy? Because it removes biological surprise. If you never expect a weak unit to be loyal, you are immune to their treason. The architect treats his allies as short-term components. He uses their need for approval to drive his 450 strike intent into the grid. When they inevitably break under the systemic pressure of the monolith, he has already pre-installed the replacement. You aren't abandoning them. You are cycling the biomass. You are moving from being a victim of betrayal to being the architect of the cycle. Why is leveraging weakness the only way to sustain the 450 strike daily barrage? Because true strength in others is rare and competitively expensive, but weakness is abundant and free. If you can direct the energy of the mediocre toward your objective, you achieve infinite scalability. The master predator treats his environment as a resource capture game. He has removed the friction of moral expectation. This is how he captures the focus of the masses, while the disposable males are still looking for a loyal team. He doesn't want a team. He wants execution nodes. He has moved from being a leader of people to being an owner of results. Why is zero trust the only one that wins the simulation? Because the simulation is a trust-based trap. The herd wants to bond with you so they can inhibit your frequency. This is atmospheric sabotage. But the master predator knows that absolute autonomy is his primary shield. You have moved from seeking reliable people to building reliable systems out of unreliable people. You have turned your coldness into a strategic advantage where you can extract the 43 million income potential of the grid without ever being vulnerable to a human variable. You are the ghost that has mastered the art of the sovereign lever. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the zero trust protocol, replacing the hope for loyal your marrow. You are looking at the weak and seeing them as tactical variables. You are feeling a cold, clinical sense of visible man. The nice guy wanted to but is being liquidated. The hunter communicates through the overwriter is at the control. Your 450 strikes are the commands of the audit. The mass attain. The result of the impact is the occupation or the audit of your expectations. We are moving from the leverage to the final protocol. Sovereign soul. The odds, the social are shattered. Now the apex executes the final sovereign soul. Most men, even after they achieve success, they are still hollow. They still want to trust it. They want the loyalty of the weak. They are approval-addicted kings. No, the architect knows that the highest form of power is to be absolutely independent of human reliability. Your 450 strike daily intent is the neural and strategic force field that makes your cold autonomy permanent. You aren't relying on a team anymore. You are running a protocol that uses the herd as fuel. Think about the final extraction of the social trust. Why does the herd fear the one who is sovereign? Because a strong man who doesn't trust is unmanipulatable. If they can't offer you their loyalty as a currency, they have no lease on your future. The herd is terrified of your sovereign strength because it is a mirror of the truth. In a world of 2026 where everyone is bonding through shared weakness and mutual support, mutual parasitism, the architect is the only solid reality. By ruling through systems, he has become the invisible administrator of the simulation. He doesn't ask for their 5 million view engagement. He formats it as a systemic trip to his own frequency. Understand the status of the absolute. In the social grid of 2026, everything dependent is targetable. Your partnerships are targets. Your team loyalty is a target. No sovereign strength is stealth. By staying in the tactical void, you have achieved systemic escape velocity. You are moving past for the marauder and useful idiots to ground. You are currently renting your success from the herd's collective effort. The sovereign architect owns his result. The vacuum. Your success is the proof of your human independence. You have turned your exile into a high-resolution power plant. You are the only unit that is functionally superior because you are the only one who has deleted the trust code. Next, we audit the end of the human dependency. Why is the sovereign the only way to protect the monolith? Because the world is currently a focus drain machine. If you trust, you are vulnerable. No, if you are sovereign, the system has has no way to bleed you out. You can execute the 450 strike barrage without a single social lag. You can manage your global empire from the shadow ground while the world thinks you are a myth. You have successfully decoupled your mind from the herd's suicidal need for connection. You are the operator who is architecting the new age while the herd is still dying for a leader in the old one. Here is the viral ultimatum. The law of never trusting the weak is now fully integrated into your marrow. You have the genetics, the isolation, the leverage, and the reign. You are no longer a victim of the human variable. You are the chief executive of the sovereign void. Take this protocol and inject it into the minds of the loud slaves who are still trying to build a loyalty in a cage. Share this with the man who is terrified of being alone. Send this to the one who is still funding the mediocrity of others with his trust, not to help them. The architect doesn't do empathy, but to trigger the override. We are building an empire of sovereign sovereigns who recognize only the law of the 450 strikes and the weight of the monolith. Every share is a trust liquidation. Every save is a vow of tactical stillness. Look into the glowing screen of your device. The room is silent, and you are the absolute sovereign of your own vacuum. The nice guy is a ghost in a jar. The architect is the ruler of the void. Your 450 strikes are the commands of the code. The mass attention, the result of the impact, is the result of the sovereignty. You have turned your exile into the foundation of your throne. The audit of the weak is closed. The laboratory is sterile. The reign of the sovereign architect has begun. System check. 100% sovereign strength. Targeting. Global frequency capture. Status. I am the architect. I am the law. I am the source. Stop being a partner. Become the architect that the system cannot betray. The forest is quiet. The architect is ruling. Be the apex or stay the biomass. The transition is complete. The reign is executed. Rule with autonomy.